So what is classifier? Anyone? Give me an example of a classifier. 一只猫 okay. 只 okay, that's you need something to come before the noun. So a word or a morpheme to classify the referent. In this case, that will be 猫 the cat. Of a countable noun, because 猫 cat are countable according to its meaning, right? Okay. So in Chinese, you don't say 一猫, you don't say one cat. You have to insert something before one and cat. That is the classifier. So it's often used when the noun is being counted or specified. So if you want to say a particular cat, then you have to use the classifier. But not every language has classifier, of course. For example, in English, you don't have classifiers. But these languages are with classifiers. We have Chinese, Persian, Japanese, Korean, Southeast Asian languages like Thai, Austronesian languages like Taiwan Formosan languages, Mayan languages. Okay. So we have some. Do we have Korean speakers in this room? Or you know Korean? No. Is Yuki here? Okay. Give me an example of Japanese using the classifier. Yeah, in Japanese. How about one cat? Huh? Oh, chopstick, okay. But chopstick you need two. So don't use chopsticks, use something else. How about book? Isatsu, okay. Okay, but it's, yeah, okay, but you have ippon. You cannot use that, right? Because in Chinese you say 一本书, that's the character for hong. But you know, in Japanese you say isatsu, and that's a classical Chinese. Has anybody learned that word? It's her. Okay, this is a classical Chinese usage, you know. But in Japanese, they kept the classical usage. Okay. Do we have? Oh, okay. Gladys is not here. Otherwise, so these languages. So a lot of people suspect. Oh, I didn't see you. I'm sorry. Okay. Do you speak any Southeast Asian languages? You don't? Chaozhou?
I can't really speak any dialect.
Oh, not even Hokkien? Oh, okay. Okay. Because I was trying to, I thought from Singapore you probably have exposure to many languages.
Maybe just like my parents' generation, but not so much like my generation.
Oh, what's your background?
My background.
Hokkien?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So a lot of people think because these languages have the non-classifier, maybe that has something to do with their origin. Some people even try to reconstruct. Remember we talked about reconstruction last time? They try to reconstruct. They think perhaps these languages are related at one point in history. But scholars vary in terms of their ideas about the reconstruction of these languages. So far we have no conclusion that everybody is willing to accept. But so far, all the languages that you can find that use non-classifiers will be listed here. So classifier in Chinese, many people become interested or has become interested in the subject as early as in 1968. This is the famous Chinese linguist Y.R. Zhao, by the name of Zhao Yuanren. Okay, he is a very famous linguist, almost like the I would say, do you know who Chomsky is? Okay, I would say he is the Chomsky in Chinese linguistics. Okay, so he's the one, like the father of Chinese linguistics. And he used a lot of his data in his very famous Chinese, very famous book called Spoken Grammar of Chinese, published in 1968. He used a lot of data from Beijing Hua, not the official language, but a lot of Beijing dialect, because his wife was his informant, and she has many interesting examples. If you read the book of his 1968 book, a lot of people who learn Chinese in the United States, they use Zhao Yanren's textbook for Chinese learning. So he didn't use the word classifier to call, for example, all those classifiers that we have just mentioned. He said a measure. He used the word measure is a bound morpheme which forms a demonstrative measure compound with one of the determinatives. So this is Zhao Yanren's definition. He thinks it's used along with numbers to define the quantity of a given object. Like you can say 一只猫 one cat, 两只猫 two cats. Okay, so you are using the classifier with given object. It's always used in conjunction with a noun or another content word. So what is a content word? Content words are something with actual content, by definition, right? So as opposed to content word, you have the so-called function words. Function words are words that are used to signify grammatical relationship. Okay, so for example, can you give me some content words, either by the class or by the specific example? Do you have any content word in mind? If a classifier is used in conjunction with a noun or another content word, noun must be a content word. Cat, dog, any noun is a content word because it has content to it. What other categories could be content words? Yeah? I beg your pardon? Oh, okay. Content words, it's used, the term content word is used to refer to a class of categories. So for example, you have nouns, you have verbs, you have prepositions, right? You have articles, you have conjunctions. All these are parts of speech or syntactic categories. So content words is a word used to refer to a certain class. So it has some subset. Noun is a subset of the so-called content words. So I'm asking you, can you come up with other examples of content words? Anything? Huh? Long object? No. I'm talking about some linguistic concepts. For example, noun is a group of all kinds of objects, right? So you have tables, desk, people, cat, dog, trees. Those are nouns. And these nouns have contents to it. That's why it's called content words. On the other hand, like preposition, in, on, it's used to indicate, for example, this glass is on the table. So on is used to indicate the relationship between this glass and the table. So on as a preposition will belong to the category called function words. Function, okay, to indicate some grammatical relationship. And it's called content because it's expandable. You can add new things into it. Anytime you have a new technological advance. For example, you have iPad. Now it has become a new word, right? So that's a noun, and you can add it to your vocabulary. You have iPhone. What else is new? Anytime you have something new, you have to create a name to call it. So you can add to the total number of that category. So content words as a category, it can be expanded. You can have more words added to it. So like noun, like verbs, like adjectives, and for that matter, adverbs, they are content words. But like preposition, particles, conjunction, etc., those are called function words. So these classifiers are only used in conjunction with a noun. In this case, they are only talking about a noun. In this case, a noun happens to be a subset that belongs to the so-called content words. Okay, so this is what this sentence is about. So now you have seen this. Of course, now that I know your Chinese is pretty good, we have wasted too much time preparing for this because I was trying to do a test. I said, how do you say this in Chinese? There's only one tree. How would you count it? Okay. I have heard him, but probably a lot of you did not hear him. For those of you who cannot speak Chinese well, can you try to count one tree in Chinese? Mali? No? Okay, that's 一树, right? 树 is for tree, 一 is for one. So I need you to fill in the content word. That would be the answer. Okay, 一棵树. Okay, that's the classifier, because you're using that. 棵 is the category or the word that we chose to count the trees. So I have several things. This is a shirt. Okay, so I'm going to skip John because he's too advanced. Okay, now. Very good. Okay. So, 衬衫 or 衣服, right? 衣服 is clothes. So you are going to fill in 件. Okay. So this probably is more common than trees, right?
I know how to say tree, but I don't know the word.
Oh, okay. All right. But you have to memorize that part, right? It's almost like we have to memorize prepositions when we learn English because, a lot of times there's no rule to it. You just have to memorize it. So one more. Okay, we have done this. So whoever was sleeping just now will be able to answer this question. Okay, so now nobody wants to answer because everybody was awake, right? Okay, so want to try? 一只猫. Okay, so that's it. So that's classifier. So are all classifier always memorizable and predictable and there's a fixed usage? How would you call this? This telephone. Telephone is 电话, and now you know 一 something 电话, right? So I'm looking for what comes after 一. Anyone? 一台. Wow, very good. Okay. But actually, we chose Tai is fine, but so that now you know there's a variation. G is also like how should I explain G? G, you must have learned this word. This is like 文具, stationary. You have seen this from other combination. But G also means one physical entity. You can also count it with that body. That would be G. Okay, because that's one entity. Like you've seen some dimension to it. That's a not flat. Okay, not 2-dimension. It has to be 3-dimensional. But Tai is definitely correct. And that was something that I was looking for also because you are going to find out, wow, what is this? Same thing, this is telephone, but we are just making, you are now in a time, what is that called? A time tunnel, okay? You are going back to the future or what? Okay, so what's this? That's also 电话, but I won't use Tai because now the shape is a little bit different. Or G, because it's 3-dimensional. You say this is also 3-dimensional, but I won't use G. Now they chose Tai, but still, but I think these two are not that distinguishable, right? Chester, you agree? Okay, so this is what you would still see pretty often, but not in this kind of old-fashioned type. That's in the public phone. Okay, the public phone started like this. Wow. Okay, now you have wireless, cordless. No, cordless, right? Not wireless, cordless. No, this is cordless. How would you call it? Because now you look at the phone. Probably you won't look at the base. Probably you pay more attention to the phone itself. So it's something portable, right? So either Tai or G would not be appropriate because Tai or G means something like more stable. It's fixed there. For example, the payphone. So how would you call this? 条? No, we don't use 条. Any wild guess? 拔. I know you have some senses, but I don't think we use 拔. 一只. 只, yeah. Probably this was the answer. Let's see. Okay? 一只. Okay? So even 条 and 拔 and 只, they all refer to something that's long in shape. But still, linguistic use is conditioned by convention. So we would use 一支电话 because actually in this case, you are only looking at this portable part. You're not looking at the telephone as a whole set. Okay? So what does this tell you? Then they are predictable but not always predictable. Predictable in the sense that if you memorize it as a chunk, for the collocation, probably you know how to say 一棵树, 一件衣服. But still, sometimes the shape varies. And your attention is drawn to not the whole thing, but to a certain part of the thing. You look at the most salient feature of the object, and you are using that salient feature of the object to decide which classifier you are going to use for that noun. Okay, so far so good? Okay. So, is there any rule to follow? If that's predictable and not so predictable, what is the rule? At least we know a different classifier for different nouns. You say that's evident. You amount to say nothing. So, for example, I'm sorry, this is not the right word. We have to change this. I'm talking about, and this is not a very good. I'm talking about chair. Actually, it should be chair. Yeah, Mali. 一只手机, yeah, okay, because 手机 like this, it's portable. So we will use 一只手机, yes. Very good. 一只手机.
I have a question. Because sometimes I have the feeling there is no measure word of classifier because you say 一瓶水, and I always wonder what is the measure word for 瓶, because for me you should count the ping and not the water actually, because it's for me it's strange that in this case for me it sounds like there is no classifier in 一瓶水 or 一碗米饭.
Stephen, you read my mind because that would be the second part of my talk. Yes, okay. Because 一瓶水 is a measure word. It's not a classifier. It's for counting the quantity, or it's like a bunch of flowers, a heap of woods. Okay, you're not talking about the wood itself. You are using that as a unit to quantify it. Okay, so that's not classifier. Okay, good. Okay, very good. Okay, so I'm talking about here. I should have changed it. I'm talking about 椅子, chair. So you say 一张椅子, 一张, right? 张, this one. Of course, you recognize it as the common last name in Chinese. Other people has the last name of Zhang. But Zhang actually means a flat sheet. Or, like something that it could be extended 2 dimension. Okay? So, when you say 一张椅子, what is your focus of attention? The place where you sit down. Right? The place you sit down, the surface. The surface. 一支笔 okay, one pen 一支笔 because 笔 well, I'm sorry, I don't have it here, but 一支笔 it would be that shape. Okay, 一支笔
Could it be 条 as well?
No, you cannot say 条 because 条 is reserved for I see 条 is more for, how should I explain it? You can say 一条巧克力 a chocolate bar 一条木板 wood bar 一条鱼 for animals, yes 一条河 okay, because you look at it as a long shape. But B, I think somehow there's 3 dimensions to it, and 条 is more like square, or like you have many faces. Okay, it's very hard to make the distinction, but the distinction is there. So that's why it's interesting, because it has something to do with how you look at it, how you conceptualize it, how you perceive it. Okay, now 快. Okay, of course you don't have to always use 快 for bread, 面包 bread, but 一块面包 simply means you can say a loaf, but not a loaf, no. 一块, how would you say? Huh? A slice. A slice could be 一块, yeah. If you have a toast, you have a total of 8 pieces to make a loaf of bread, then one of the 8 pieces could be 一块, a slice. But slice sometimes we use 片, okay, instead of 块. 块 is more like an irregular mass, chunk, something like that. Okay? And there's no general rules to follow because, as I have just said, it has to do with your focus of attention, how you want to use it, how you want to look at it, what function you are looking for in that object probably will determine. So you can say 一年 for 1 year. Regarding time, they don't use the same kind of classifier. 一年 you don't even use classifier. 一个月 1 month, you use the most general classifier 个. And 一星期 or 一个星期 either way will be fine for 1 week. You see? So even when you are counting time, you are measuring time, you don't use the same kind of classifier in front of the noun 年 year, 月 month, and 星期 week. So it's very difficult for non-native speakers. For example, you can say 一个人说一句话. What does that mean? When I say 一个人说一句话, a person say a sentence. Okay, a person say a sentence. Good, but for you just cannot simplify it into 一人说一话 because you need a classifier 个 and you need a classifier 句 over there. 句 means sentence, literally. So it's one person say a sentence. Yeah.
一个人 also means alone.
一个人 yes, okay. 他一个人读书 is to read.
Sometimes that's strange. So is it now one person or is it
No, in that case 一个人 is used as an adverb. So that's why you could mean alone. But here 一个人 is used as a like a subject. It's not used as an adverb. This is a noun. Because over here, when we talk about classifier, remember, it has to come before a noun. And the whole chunk together is used as a noun. But when you say 一个人 as an adverb, then that would be alone, by himself. Okay? So Chinese is also difficult to learn, which you haven't mentioned when I asked you in the beginning of the class. It's difficult to learn because the parts of speech, how it is used, what function it performs, depends on how it is placed in the sentence. So the same thing Stephen has just shown us. 一个人 could be used as a noun, and 一个人 could be used as a verb, depending on where it occurs in the sentence. Alright? So Chinese may be difficult. Okay. So each noun has its own specific classifier. Okay, more or less. It could have more than one, but actually they are specific. And those classifiers are used to indicate the shape of the noun, the kind, or other properties associated with the noun. So, is it one classifier for all? Is there any one classifier for all nouns? Good. Yeah.
There is none, but when I don't know the measurement, I always say good because it's the most common one.
Very good strategy, right? Okay, you always have to find a default one that you can use, whatever. So when I learn Spanish, I don't know how to use the aspect and the tense correctly. I always use present tense. And if you don't understand, I add yesterday at the end, okay, to make it pass. I add tomorrow at the end to make it tomorrow. Of course, I know I didn't speak it correctly, but I need to survive, right? So you always have to find one for all. So just in case you don't know which one to use, with those telephone, 一个 would always be understood by other people. Okay, so that would be the 个 here. So we have very extensive use of 个, which is not encouraged. Okay, don't tell your teacher I say you can use 个 anywhere. Okay, because that's not correct. I'm just saying, if you need to survive for whatever reason, then 个 could always make it sound better than without 个. Okay, and it's applicable to almost or to most individual noun. So you can say 一个人, one person, 一个鸡蛋, one egg. However, there are some nouns which sound very strange with 个, but we use it anyway. For example, you can say 那个手袋, meaning that handbag or that pocketbook. Okay, you can say 这个书, this book. Okay, or 一个鞋, that's very bad. That's why I don't like the chopstick example, because 鞋 you need two, right? You need two of them to make a pair. Yeah.
If you're literally talking about a shoe, to use 个 in that situation, or to use different, like if you were talking about just the right shoe.
No, you say 一只. Yeah, 一只鞋. If you are only talking about one of the two. Yeah, 一只. 个 is just the, how do you call that? That's what's it? That's the magic word. Let me think of it. It slipped. Okay. Yeah.
Is 一系 also a classifier?
Wait.
一系 shoe, some books?
一些书, no, you're talking about measure book. Okay, measure word. Okay, you are all talking about. Okay, that's for quantity now. Okay, so 个 is very easy to use, but you are running the risk of overgeneralization because you are missing the main point of using classifier, because you cannot, 个 does not tell you about the kind, 个 does not tell you about the shape or other properties associated with a noun. Okay, so now we have pictures here again. You said, what is this? Okay, I heard two answers, and those are the answers that I want to put here. You can either say 一头牛 or 一条牛. Okay? And Chester helped me with these pictures, and I asked him, I said, I can understand here, when I want to count many what? Buffaloes or whatever, cows or whatever. If I want to count them, probably I count them by the head. So I say many heads. So one of them, I say one head, 一头, right? One head. And I say, why? What's the difference? And he told me, he said, this one you look at the long shape, so you say 一条. Okay? Here, the salient part is the head, so you say 一头. Okay, so it makes sense. So either way will be fine. How about this? Piano. What classifier would you use? Okay. Okay, he learns fast. 一架. Okay, good. Any other options? Alternative? Okay, I've already given you the options, right? 架, this classifier is also used with airplanes. You can say one airplane, 一架飞机. So 架 is used for something huge, three-dimensional. But you could also use 台. Remember, Gladys just told us about phones. You can use 台. 台 is also for something like more stationary. It would just sit there, stand there, or place there, without being moved easily. So 台 or 架, either one would be fine. They all refer to something huge. And, probably for 架especially, you probably need the legs in order to call it the 架. So for 飞机, you say this. For plane, you say where's the legs? 飞机, you have the wheels or something. It's like something that's supported underneath. So that would be the meaning of 架. So which one you use would tell me how you look at the object, how you conceptualize the object. And we have houses here. And of course, this is, either one would be a house. But this will be apartment, right? This will be like a villa, okay? So you have a weekend house. And do you use the same classifier? No. Okay. 动, very good. Okay, 动means like by itself, okay? Very good. What about this? 动 or 坐. 坐 also means 坐 will be also fine. 动 will be fine. Yeah, actually we had 动 yesterday, but then we took it out. We said, don't complicate the matter. So 坐 simply means by itself, okay, as a building. And this is just one, because there could be the whole building, or it could be, you can just say 我的房子, because I only owned a small apartment. So like 一间房子, 间. Okay, like a room, you would also use this 间 for the room. So 一个房间, 一间屋子, like this. Wow. Okay, so this looks all different, but they share one classifier. Okay, so guessing games. What would be the classifier? Good. Okay. James have just given me the answer. Any other? Not Joe. Okay, I'm looking for somebody else. Alan. 把. Okay, very good. Okay, 一把. So you say 一把椅子 chair. 一把小提琴 violin. 一把刀子 knife. 一把 well, 一把 is 一把. Okay, 一把 is a whole chunk, right? 一把. You're not just or just one single one. One single one. And the whole chunk is 一串. Okay, 一串. Okay. So 一把 will be just one key. One key. All right. Why? Why we only use 把? You can hold it in hand because you're looking at the handle. The handle. And this 把, remember we just used chair. Which classifier we used just now? 张. And I told you when you use 张, you are looking at the surface, the place where you can sit down. When you use 把, you're actually looking at all this part where you can just lift the chair. So you're looking at the hand, something that you can hold in hand. So definitely the key, you can hold it in hand. So they share the same thing. Oh, it's getting more and more difficult, right? Perlin, help me with the correct name of it. Okay, we have Gladys here. You're from Singapore. How is it called? That. Huh? What? Yeah, the instrument. 古筝. Yeah, how do you call it in Singapore? No, not 古琴, 古筝. In English. Yeah. Okay, that was the answer we got also. It's just called 古筝. Yeah. What did you say?
古筝 has 21 strings.
这个是古琴。
Oh, this is 古琴啊.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So we got it wrong, okay. But I wanted to have 古筝, but that's fine. Okay, they look very similar except the strings, the number of strings. Thank you, okay. So we have to change that, right? This is 古琴. Okay, so this is ancient Chinese musical instrument where you have, you can move some part here, you can move it to make different sounds, okay. And usually they have to be placed on a stand so that you can play, right? Because here you only see the instrument. How is it going to be played? You have to place it on a surface. And this is table. That's a CD. Again, a chair. So you probably guess what is the classifier that could be used for all four of them? Zhang. Yes. Why? Because now I'm looking at the surface. I'm looking at the surface, and the surface. Okay? So chair would be the best example. You have seen it's being used with 张 or 把, depending what is the most salient feature of that object to you. Okay? So classifiers are meaningful. If you look at this, it could mean a doorway, 一道门. But it could also mean 一扇门 if you look at it more like a physical object. And so a classifier categorizes a class of nouns by picking out some salient perceptual properties, either physically or functionally based. Okay, so like the chair, how you look at it or how it's going to be used, that's the function. And how you look at it, in terms of its appearance, that's the physical part. So the categories of this classifier, and how we categorize this classifier. Cross-linguistically, some people have proposed that we could classify it in terms of the material, the shape, the consistency of the object, or the size. Actually, Alan mentioned 7 features. It could also be classified according to the location, according to the arrangement, or according to the quantity. However, for the Chinese classifier, these 3 do not apply. So we are only looking at the first 4 for the classifier. But of course, Stephen has just mentioned something about measure word. That measure word has to do with arrangement and also with the quantity. All right. So the Chinese classifier system, you can do classify it according to the material. For example, in terms of material, this is in your reading. For material, you also have to look at whether the thing is animate or inanimate, whether it's abstract or is it a verbal noun. If you do it by shape, you look at it whether it's long or it's flat or round. Or another way of looking at it is whether it's 1-dimensional, 2-dimensional, or 3-dimensional. And then you can look at the consistency of the object, whether it's flexible, hard or rigid, or non-discrete. Okay, it's like an object that is fixed there, that you do not move it easily or it cannot be moved easily. All those things will be taken into consideration. And lastly, you look at size, whether it's big or small. Okay, for big or small, there's something I didn't put here, but I just want to ask you about rice. A grain of rice, right, in English. If you want to refer not to the rice you eat as a whole pot, but just before it's cooked, you have to look at the individual, a grain of rice. How would you say that in Chinese? A grain of rice. Li, okay. Li. You also say 一粒 orange, 橘子, li. 一粒苹果, 1 apple. So li is a round shape kind of thing, more like 3-dimensional, right? Any other alternative other than li for 1 grain of rice? You can say 一粒米, referring to one specific grain of rice that you are about to cook. Any other? You can always say 一颗米. But 粒 or 颗 will be different in terms of the size that you are going to assign to the object that comes afterwards. Okay? This I think I'm going to skip. Okay. With classifier, a lot of times we also use it metaphorically. In other words, for example, over here, you look at this noun, 希望, that means hope. Hope is not a concrete object, which you don't actually count. That's why whatever comes before the noun has to be used metaphorically also, because the noun is not countable in this case. So we choose the classifier 线, meaning thread, okay, like the thread that you use to sew your clothes, okay, or the dental floss, that would be also a kind of thread. So we use 线 as a classifier for hope. So when you have 一线希望, what kind of chance do you have? What kind of hope? Is it highly likely, probable, or unlikely? Do you have a lot of 一线希望? What does it mean? It's likely or unlikely? Unlikely, because 线 is so small and skinny, right? Thin. When you want to talk about this kind of emotion, 无奈, that means you don't know what to do. You know, it's like 无奈. How would you translate it? You just have to take it, okay? But you don't like it. You still have to take it. That would be a kind of emotion for 无奈. You have no choice. You can only take it. And how can I describe a person that has this kind of emotion or has this kind of it's not hopelessness. It's just something that you cannot do about it. 无奈. And you want to describe this person has such expression on the face. So use 脸, meaning face. 一脸无奈, that means, you know, you just don't know what to do with it. You just have to stick with it. Eat it, you know, accept it. Okay, 无奈. And these are called metaphorical use. So in other words, for classifier, you don't just count the actual concrete noun. You also do it metaphorically. And in English, we have the same thing. We can say, of course, these are not classifier. These are just some metaphorical use. A galaxy of talents. You see that show on TV, right? It started from England, right? What's the name of the show? We have imitated into Chinese. Yeah, you got talent or something like that. And you know, you have a galaxy of talents. A galaxy, how many stars are there in the galaxy? So many, right? So many. So that you anything? Any question? No? Okay. And you have an army of workmen. Is that many or few? Or just a few? Or just that's huge in number? Yeah, an army. Okay. A pile of warriors. Yeah, Stephen.
I wouldn't say it's a measure word. I would say it's a metaphor in English. Actually.
Those are metaphors, but you still use them to measure, right? For example, an army of workmen, a pile. You can say one pile, two piles, but you don't usually. You can say two armies of workmen, but you probably don't say two piles of warriors, right? Okay, so it's not really measurement. I agree. It's not actually measurement. So these are metaphorical use. So I'm going to stop here for a while and let this one stay with you for 10 minutes for you to figure out what is the classifier I'm going to share with you. Okay, so take a break and come back. Okay, are we back? Huh? Okay, let me make it clear again.
In French, it sounds like far.
Remember what I said in the beginning of the hour? I said you use the measure word, you use the classifier on nouns that are countable. So here we have metaphorical use because these nouns are abstract noun, like hope. This is abstract noun. That's why you are just using the concept of a classifier on an abstract noun. So here we have metaphorical effect or metaphorical use of the classifier. Okay, this is something that you have to bear in mind because all this time I've been talking about classifier. I'm talking about they are used in conjunction with countable noun. So now we have cloud, right? So what would be a classifier for cloud?
English or Chinese?
Okay, tell me in English. I'm curious. Yes, right. Okay, very good. Some people even wrote it for me, okay? Yeah. Picture, okay. All right, so. 朵, that's the character that you will be using for cloud. And 朵, yes, very good. It's used to count flower. So you can say 一朵花. Why do we use 朵 for the cloud?
I'm totally guessing here. Something that seems almost countless. So like if you have a field of flowers.
I think probably it's the shape or yeah. What you are about to see in the next few slides, those are what we consider very difficult. You might have to use some imagination in order to come up with the right classifier. Okay, so 一朵云. Of course, we also have 一片云, 片, slide, because actually 片 is used for sky. 一片天空, 一片天空 for sky. So sometimes we would associate the classifier that's used for the object where it exists to take that as a classifier for the object that you hardly see. So we say 一片天空, and sometimes because 片 is used for sky and 云, the cloud, is also in the sky, we could also use 一片云. Okay, 一片云. So this is a very special usage probably you won't learn in your Chinese lesson. Okay. Now, this is mirror. And what classifier would you use for mirror? 片. No, we cannot use 片. Even though, yeah, 片is a right direction, but we don't use 片. 片 is something spread out, right? Flat. And so you want to emphasize the flatness or the spreading. 面, very good. Okay, 面 is face, literally. So 面 is like your face. It could be 一面. But 面 is actually more for flatness. That's why I don't really like to count people's face by 面, but unfortunately. Okay, so 面. We are just talking about a flat surface, in fact. Okay. Hat. Oh, very good. Why so fast?
I don't know.
You see? So you need input all the time. As long as you have learned it, then you could come up really easily. Language is by practice. I see living example. Okay. So 顶. 顶 literally means what? Top, because it's something that you wear on top of your head.
Is it also summit?
Summit, yes, very good. 山顶, summit, very good. Okay, so this you really need to use some imagination. So classifier for categorization. A classifier actually categorizes a class of nouns by picking out some salient perpetual properties. That's what I have just said. Either physically or functionally based, which are permanently associated with entities named by the class of noun. Okay, Tomomi just asked me about the word permanently. So we are talking about the entities that is always there in the noun, in the object. So permanently means it's always there. It doesn't mean that it's not movable, but it's just, not physically moving, but we're talking about something that's there, inherent. A measure word, on the other hand, that's related to Stefan's question. A measure word does not categorize, but denotes the quantity of the entity named by a noun. So you can say 一瓶水, a bottle of water, because it has nothing to do with the permanent entity of water, but it has to do with the quantity that you use to count.
Because in my Chinese class, in my home university, we learned that both is the same usage.
The same meaning,
Both
no.
that both the classifiers and measure words are only measure words.
That's how we learn to get lumped together.
Well, probably it's easier, but now you know it's not the same.
Yeah.
It's
I was
different.
wondering what's the difference between measure word and category?
Okay.
Classifier?
Okay, so I think from a cognitive perspective, that would not be the right answer, because now you know you can look at the salient feature in order to count. So measure word is not really classifier. Okay, good. That's very good input from all of you, because this would help us to think about how we may write up the textbook for foreigners to learn Chinese, for example, because these are important distinctions. And for people like you who are advanced learners or who are already mature, you have a lot of word knowledges and you have knowledge from other fields. Really, you cannot just give a simple answer for a very complicated question. Okay, so classifier may also affect the meaning of a noun, because if you have these three expressions, now for this course, we have to do it for 3 hours. So it's counted as 3节, 3 hours, 3节课. For example, it's supposed to be from 9 to 12, so 3节课. Now, 节, 一节 means 1 hour of class, okay? 3门课, how would you translate it? 3 courses, right? 3种课, how would you translate it? 3 types of courses. Very good. So now translate this 3 into English, then you will know right away they are different. 3节课. You have said that 3门课 is 3 courses, right? 3种课 is 3 types of courses. You have to use the type there. And how would you translate 3节课? How would you count our class? Is it as 1 class or 3 classes? So we meet for 3 hours. 3节课 simply means a 3-hour course. A 3-hour course. Right? Or 3 periods. Is that right? So 3 periods. So a course for 3 periods, So now because you choose a different classifier, you have to translate differently because the meaning, they don't have the same meaning. And let me do this again. This is something that we have already covered. However, some very relevant cognitive categories that we have singled out here for you are, for example, for animacy, like animals, usually you will use 知. But 科 is not for animacy. 科 is more for inanimate, like trees. 根 is not for animacy either. So animacy here refers to animate and non-animate, so both. And 根, when would you use 根? what kind of noun would you use 根？一根 what？一根粉笔 Okay, very good. The chalk. Because it's supposedly, what do you see in 根 Can you say 一根笔 Why do you say 一支笔 Why would you say 一支笔 but you say 一根粉笔 This is 粉笔根 What's the difference? Huh? Somebody say something?
I did. I said
Oh.
gun is more cylindrical.
Oh, very good. Okay, this is more cylindrical. Okay, see? And 笔 sometimes it can be flat, it could be any shape, right? But 粉笔 chalk is always this shape. Anyone else want to say something? Did I see hand? No? Okay, so. And for shape, usually long shape, that would be 条, 根, and 枝. And you see some overlapping, so you have to decide what is the perceptually salient feature for you. For 条, we also use it for fish, right? Most of the time we use 一条鱼 because when you say 一条鱼, you can also say 一只鱼. What would be the difference between 一条鱼 and 一只鱼 for you? Both. You can use both. When you say 一只鱼, you are just looking at it as an animal, an animate object, right? Like 一只猫, 一只狗, cat and dog. But when you say 一条鱼, what part of the fish are you looking at? The tail. Very good, the tail. It's the tail that makes it 一条. And unless you pick up your cat by the tail, I don't think you will use 一条. Okay? So that's good. Flat, 张, which we have covered, like the chair, or the 古琴, the 古筝, the zither, the musical instrument we have just mentioned. For round, this was the one that I mentioned, 一粒, like a grain of rice, or an orange, an apple, round in shape. Size, then you have 粒 again. 粒 is usually, 一粒米 is pretty small. It's pretty small in size. 座, that would be for the house, right? 一座房屋, 一座房子. 座 is usually by itself and it's big, huge. Consistency, usually you could have 块 and 团. When would you use 团? Can you think of 一团? If you say 一团线, thread, what did you see? Or what could you visualize when I say 一团线? 团 is messed up, everything's tangled together. So 一团线, that means you cannot even pick out the color of the thread you want. It's all together. Or when you have a necklace and it becomes 一团, that means it's all messed up. You probably have to untangle it or something. Or you could have 一团面粉, flour. When you put water into the flour and make into a dough, we call it 一团 because it's all mixed together. 团. Okay? And 块 we have already covered just now. And finally, you look at the attributes or the features. For example, 把, you are looking at the handle. Like 一把钥匙, key, 一把椅子, chair, etc. 口, what's the meaning of 口?
You think it's like mouth?
Mouth.
Because 我的家有4口人.
Wow, okay. Okay. 我家有4口人. Okay, so actually 4口 means 4 mouths. So there are 4 mouths in the family that needs to be fed. That means there are 4 persons in my family. So you're using 口 as one way to count the person. This is called metonymy because you're using part of the feature to refer to the whole thing. So you're using what's in a person to refer to the person. That's metonymy, yes.
Could you say 我的家有4个人 or 4位人 or does it sound strange?
4个人 is fine because 个 can be anything. 位 is to show respect. So you can say 你 for example, you go to a restaurant if the Metro D comes to you and say 几个, that would be very impolite. I say 几位, that would be respectful. So 位 is to show respect. Okay? So 你哪位, when you call on the telephone, 你哪位, 你哪个, okay? That would be very impolite. Okay? So 你哪位. Now you see, so that's social linguistic difference. Okay. Any question? No? Okay. So imagination plays a critical role in categorization. Remember that 一朵云 with a cloud. You know, a lot of things that 一顶帽子, you have to think about the function, you have to use it metaphorically. Or 一口人, you have to use metonymy in order to count how many mouths in a family means how many people in the family, etc. Oh, wow. How many of you haven't seen this? Do you know what it is? If you don't know it, you haven't learned Chinese culture well. Okay? What is this? Oh, okay. Anyone who has seen it just for the first time? Well, everybody knows it. I'm surprised. Okay. How many suits or how many different tires are there when you play this? 4? Yeah, 4 different kinds. Yeah, 4 different kinds. You have the character ones. You have this round shape ones. And you have this I-WEN, 10,000, whatever, this kind. And you have this bar type. Okay, so you have 4 kinds. Yes, that's true. But altogether, how many tires in order to play mahjong?
Wait, how many individual tiles or how many suits?
No, how many tires, actual tires?
Counting flowers.
Wow, this one is advanced. Okay, discounting flowers. She knows how to play, yeah. Math.
144 plus 13.
Very good. 144, yes. 144, because each one you have from 1 to 9, and each one you have 4 of them. So each suit you have 36, and you have 4 suits. So 36 times 4, 144. And what's the probability if you have 144 tiles? Any math major? So that's why this game can be so exciting, because you always get different combination. 144. If you think about the probability and the combination, I don't know. Some math genius has to tell me, because I'm happy I will be able to play. If I have to calculate the probability, that would not be that fun. Okay, so that's mahjong. How would you count the whole set? The whole set. I'm not just counting the tires, right? Mahjong. Fu. Okay, fu is to refer to the whole set with 144 plus additional tires for the flowers that she just mentioned. Okay. So that is difficult. Okay. So now it comes to the part that Stephen wants to know. Okay, the measure words. So classifier vary considerably across Chinese dialects. We haven't talked about the dialect, but for classifier with the duo or whatever zhang that you have just been shown in Taiwanese doesn't mean my dialects, or probably in Cantonese, or probably in other dialects of the Chinese languages, they would not be picking up the same character or the same word to count those nouns. However, for measure words, they do not vary very much from one dialect to another. So with that example of 1 bottle of water, because that bottle is the container, that is the measure word. Whether you speak Taiwanese or speak Cantonese or you speak Mandarin, you would always use the word bottle. But for 根 right 根 one chalk 一根粉笔 probably in Taiwanese we just won't use 根 okay or for how would you say 粉笔 in Taiwanese 支 right 支 so we will use the same classifier as the pen yes
Is there a classifier for water?
for what
Water, like 一瓶水. Is there a classifier just for 水?
no that's not classifier for 水 that's a measure word to count
Yeah, but is there?
for 水
Yeah.
水 is not countable noun remember
Yeah.
I said I only use for countable noun 水 is a what mass noun a mass noun is not countable so you don't have that for 水 okay yeah ice oh very good which kind of ice ice cube ice cube 一块 right 一个冰块个 I will use 个 yeah 个 right that's not that's more like measure word because you are counting it by you're making an ice cube so you have to say one ice cube two ice cube I would say it's not a classifier it's a measure word good okay yeah native speakers how do we say ice cube 一块一个冰块 yeah 个 I would say 个 okay so we have group measure words and the group measure words for example let's look at this one 一队士兵 is army army so you have a whole 队 what an array a troop so this 队排队 like a row 排队 you are not counting the soldiers as such you are counting them by the final product for example you are counting them according to the whole unit so you call it 一队两队三队 etc okay so 队 for example this 衣服 we have seen it just now 衣服 is the clothes or the shirt remember I say 衣服 and here I'm not just talking about one piece I'm talking about a set for example 一套衣服 could mean a suit with the top and the skirt or with the top and the pants then you would use 一套 that means at least more than one piece or if you have 一组学生 for example in your discussion on the third hour Chester would divide you into several groups and each group will be called 一组 that will be one group of students okay 一帮人帮 means again like a gangster again or a group again but usually it has different connotation when you say 一帮 it means this group of people they may share a certain ideological belief or whatever or they do something they do similar by trade etc so 帮 has a different meaning and then what else lastly 一群雀鸟 means birds right sparrow and birds and 一群 simply means like a flock or a group of birds so these are group measure words they don't just to classify the noun but they try to count in quantity in terms of the units they have formed these we call the measure words so a group measure is used for group or collection of individuals. Now, so how do we have that in English? For example, in Chinese, you have measure word 一组学生两组学生 so you can count one group, two groups, etc. One group of students, two groups of students. And in English, we have very similar. So measure word do exist in English, although classifiers do not. Okay, so in English you can have a group of students and two groups of students. And with this, you see 组 simply is mapping to the English group. But the Chinese and the English measure words are not always one-to-one. In other words, 组 is not always translated as group. It could be translated as differently. So the answer is no, because there is a significant difference. English group measure words are more specific, exclusive, and selective. In what sense? For example, look. How would you say these in English? Okay, here you have 一群, a group of workers. 一群工人, a group of workers. How do you say it in English? Oh, okay, everything together. I'm sorry. It should come in one by one. You will say an army of workers. If you have 一群雀鸟, a group of a flock of birds or a group of birds, then you will use flock instead. 一群才子 genius, very talented people, you can say a galaxy of talents. 一群鱼, a group of fish, usually you say a school of fish, right? For bees, 一群蜜蜂, you say a swarm of bees. And 一群欢迎的人, welcomers, like your favorite movie star will come to Taipei tomorrow. You could go to the airport as a welcomer. You can say a troop of welcomers. So in English, you have many different alternatives, even though in Chinese you just use 群 to refer to all these kind of things. And by the way, this also reflects the difficulty for non-English native speakers to learn English. Because how do we know for bees we have to use swarm? How do we know for fish we have to use school?
Just like I guess I think that the classifiers for animals are more strict than for
Are more what?
strict.
These are measure words.
You have to say like a flock of birds. You could also say
You say this part is more strict, right?
animals, like birds.
The animal.
But then when we talk about people,
Uh-huh.
looser.
Okay,
You say group.
that's good observation. Yeah.
That's true. I think like finding could be a crowd of fans or
A crowd of fans. Okay.
crowd could work for that.
Yeah, crowd. Yeah. Okay.
Or there's a lot of different words that would work with people, but
Okay. These people could become linguistic major. I think you have very good observation. Because with measure words, we are still trying to figure out why is it so difficult for non-native speakers to learn. But probably there's a distinction between people and, you say animal? Yeah, okay, probably there's a distinction. That's a good point. A student of mine used to work in this area. She's now studying Rice. I don't know what she has found out. But that would be, yeah, thank you. So, I, as a non-native speaker of English, have found it very difficult to learn. For example, I have to memorize a school of fish. And then you might even want to look into the reason behind why you use school. Can anybody give me a good explanation why you won't say a swarm of fish?
sounds vicious.
Some fishes, okay. No, but why do you choose school? For example, I give you another example. Would you, if you want to count 一群青蛙, a group of frogs, what would you use? Frogs. What would be the measure word for?
We don't know.
Come on, a leap of frogs. Frogs.
Really?
L-E-A-P. Yes.
You actually have like Trivial Pursuit, and it'll be like, what's a group of such and such animal called? And you
Yeah,
have no
because
idea.
we don't always know.
But frogs don't travel in sea.
Huh?
Like,
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
like I think that like for instance swarm,
Uh-huh.
the feeling behind swarm is they're insects
Uh-huh.
or there's something dangerous.
It's so many, right?
Or
Okay.
something or something
Dangerous.
Like attacking you.
Yes. Okay.
We're saying like a swarm of
A
frogs.
swarm of like a piranhas could be a swarm
No.
because they're attacking you. The feeling is they're dangerous animals.
A swarm of frogs?
A piranha.
Oh, okay.
I mean, the frogs really, that's good.
a leaf of frogs. And if you look at the more classical use,
Pride.
yes. Why would you come up with pride?
Because lions have pride.
Yes. Okay.
But I think that it would be equally understood as a herd, though. Like it's not like nomadic animals.
Nomadic animal.
It would be understood, though. I mean, it wouldn't sound as strange as a swarm of lions.
Oh no, you won't say that. But you must agree that there's some meaning to the measure word you choose, because when you say a pride of lions, everybody agree because you look at the nature of the lions. And for frogs, they leap, right? And how do the fish move in the water? They move in a pretty organized manner, right? So if you go to the aquarium, you look at how the fish moves around. They move by group, and they always like lined up one after the other. Okay, and if you go and look up the meaning of school from OED, Oxford English Dictionary, try to see what school implies. Okay, and there's a reason why you choose this measure word for the English groups. All right? Yeah.
So what happens when you then have a word that I guess sums up all these different types of measure words? Like you could say a bunch of frogs, a bunch of lions, a bunch of...
Yeah, of course you can say a bunch, yes.
And I think with frogs you would say a bunch, probably.
No.
Probably.
No. Right. So bunch usually means something that could be tied
It's
together.
Almost,
You could use a rope to tie them together, a bunch.
not necessarily. Like you could say a bunch of frogs, and I wouldn't want to like lasso them up. Like bunch, I guess it would be about the same meaning as share, like 一些.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just a lot of them.
Okay, so that's exactly ties in with the nature of measurable words, because they are not classified. With classified, you cannot do it at will, right? You just have to look according to the nature or the inherent features of the object. But with the measurable word, you're using them to count, more or less. So, and that's why these special usages, they are limited in number. They are not really a lot. Okay. So luckily for non-native speakers, we don't have to memorize that many. Okay. Okay. So this army, flock, or even a crowd of welcomers, that's a good substitute, can be applied to all animals in Chinese. I mean, the qin expressed in numerous ways, but there could be numerous ways in English. Okay. So English group measure words possess visualization effect. So how you look at the shape or visualize, right? The fish, the way they swim together as a group, or the bees, right? That you have just mentioned, or the visualized effect. They are represented with cultural imagination as well. Okay. But probably lions are pretty universal. We think lions are proud. Okay. So if you happen to be born as a Leo, or you are, okay, that's why you give me the answer right away. Okay. So, how to express? What's this? Okay. So when you say a galaxy of talents, the galaxy, usually has the meaning of luminous tract with numerous stars. And if you want to say talents, usually you think of them metaphorically as a shining star. Okay? And this could be extended to what? With a visualized effect, an assembly of brilliant, glamorous, and distinguished people who are also blinking stars. So you're using a lot of imagination there. And the group measure words for insects, okay, this we try to group them. For example, you can say a hive, a cloud, an army, etc. And for birds, you can say all these. And for wild animals, you can use tribe. And probably that ties in with what you have just told me, what Molly and John has just told me. So subject to cultural understanding and imagination associated with a group is a matter of convention. Language is all about convention, in fact. Okay. So, however, when you have that, when you have something, you might violate the specific property of English group measure words. Would it violate? For example, you have a pair of glasses, a pair of trousers, a pair of gloves, and in Chinese we would use different thing. For 眼镜, for eyeglasses we say 一副, the same word we use for 麻将 because you consider it as a set. And for trousers you have to have 2 legs, and we say 一条裤子 instead of a pair, you know, because we conceptualize as one trousers in Chinese, you know, because you need two legs to make into a pants, so we say 一条裤子. And for gloves we say 一对 because it's a pair, 2 of them makes a glove. Okay, so you see languages or the linguistic convention, they are not completely logical. It's all about convention, how you decide to use it. And you just have to learn as part of the linguistic specific usage for that language. And this makes language learning sometimes not as easy as we want them to be. So English, more imaginative for animal groups, but not for static object, which has to be descriptive and logical enough. This probably ties into what you have said, or probably you have different view. I think this would be a good cutting point, or a good point for you to explore in your first mini assignment, which is coming up, right? If you have some different thought about what we have said here, or what other people have researched about, and you have good evidence, then you can just present your evidence to make a point. I think this is what the assignment is mainly designed for, because I want you to give me as many examples as you can think of, which can tie into your own experience and your background. Okay, so not everything that I said here is 100% correct, probably. Probably you have better idea in terms of what has been covered here, and your addition or your comments or your input would always be welcome. And you can think about this as one of your mini assignments for the Mandarin part, for example. So again, culture and language, there's a convention associated with it. You just have to do it according to the convention. So, you see, with this piece of wood, a piece of music, a piece of prose, a piece of kindness, a piece of bread, a piece of advice. In English, you can just say a piece, but in Chinese, it varies. For wood, you say 一块木头, 块, okay? For music, you say 一支乐曲, for one number, okay? In English, you can say also one number. And for prose, you say 一篇. For example, you say 一篇作文, composition 一篇. And for kindness, you say 一番. And for bread, you can say 一片 or 一块. And for advice, you can say 一则. 一则 means one piece in English. Like I can give you one piece of advice. 一则劝告. Okay? So it's varied. So some observation, you can have different measure scales in different languages. For example, in Chinese, we have this measure word 亩, and it's translated into English as acre. But actually, a Chinese 亩 is only 1/6 of an acre in English. And in Chinese, we use li. For example, here from Taipei to Taichung is, let's say, 150, 150 li or whatever. But actually, 1 li is only 1/3 of a mile. So even though it's translated as a mile, but it's not the same. There's no equivalent in terms of the measurement. And 一丈 in Chinese, it's 一丈, but actually it's 10 feet in English. Okay, and some Chinese measure words from English, usually they can also be done from transliteration. So, for example, a ton is transliterated into 吨. Okay, so in terms of measurement, that would be equal, not like the last group. For gallon, it's transliterated as 加仑. Okay, you can hear the similarity in sound. That's what transliteration is about. So these would have the same measurement. And there's some contextual effect of Chinese classifier. For example, 3块. 3块, depending on how it is used, this is referring back to Stephen's comments, because context plays a key role in interpretation of the Chinese language. You have to decide where it is used in order to come up the right interpretation and right meaning. So 3块 could refer to 3块钱, meaning money. 3块钱, $3. 3块 could also mean 3 slices of bread, right? So the 3块 by itself or 一块, the 块 could mean differently according to what comes next or according to your speech situation. So Zhao Yanren again says a partitive measure represents portion of a thing instead of a group of it. However, it's just a matter of point of view. Okay, so a general observation is this. The same morphemes sometimes serve as different kind of measures. Okay, so I hope I have convinced you. And again, we comes with this example to make you see the point. 一口饭, 口, that's the measure word for mouth, right? We have just used it to count people. 一口人 means one person. 两口人, two person. But 一口饭 means one mouthful of rice. But if you say 一口钟, then it's just used to count the 钟 is like a clock, right? The clock. So you use 口 to count the 钟, then this is a classifier. You see that's different. This is a measure word, but this is a classifier. So even the same character or the same word that you have chosen, it could be either classifier or measure word, depending on what comes next. 饭 is not countable. That's why this is a measure word. 钟, a clock, that's a countable object, so it's a classifier. Is that clear? Okay. And then I'm almost toward the end. Okay. A can of Coke. Can you say a Coke?
Yeah.
Yes. A jar of beer. Can you say a beer? Of course. So why do we need to use this? Why do we have to add this? Does it create an effect of being more precise? Does it have that effect? When you say a can of Coke, is it more specific and more precise than a Coke? Yes, okay. So if you agree, when I put question mark, that means there are room for discussion, and maybe you have a different opinion, then you can explore it in your mini assignment as well. And for the light year, you can say 一个光年 or versus 一光年. 光年 is light year. I don't know how to calculate it. It's a measurement that I'm not familiar with. You can either say 一个光年 or 一光年. Do they mean differently to you or to Chinese speaker? Okay, those are the questions that you can explore. Okay, so omission of measure words or classifier. What effect does it have on the speakers or on the user of the language? Okay, so this concludes what I want to share with you about classifier. And also, I have just spent very little time on measure words. There are still a lot of work to be done in this area. And I look forward to some of you picking up this topic in your mini assignment, because I think, from your experience as Chinese learners, or from your background or your knowledge in your native language, or from the languages that you know, probably you can contribute to our understanding of these classifier systems in Chinese.